Okay, I will read a passage, but don't concern yourself with how valid this passage is. And this passage is highly qualified by the context from which I extract it. So just think of this passage in terms of the video I'm making now. So the passage goes like this. The receiver of any message must know the code of the sender, so that if the germ cells are able to receive the messages from the somatic tissue, they must already be carrying some version of the somatic code. The directions which evolutionary change could take with the aid of such messages from the soma would have to be prefigured in the germ plasm. So once again, the directions which evolutionary change could take with the aid of such messages from the soma would have to be prefigured in the germ plasm. Now, I like this passage because it reminds me of a couple of other things, like Plato and Empedocles, where they set up the idea that we know, or like is known by like, which is to say that knowledge is something that can be explained by the principle that the basic classical elements like earth, water, air, and fire in the things outside us are perceived by the corresponding elements in ourselves, because like is known by like. And as Empedocles says, if I'm correct, that we see things because there is light pouring or streaming out of our eyes and it touches the objects that it sees. And similarly, when they talk about the soul, they posit the soul as already containing the elements, because if the soul is capable of perceiving things outside itself, it is capable to do so because it contains the elements in itself, the elements that make up the things that it perceives, because like is known by like. I like this logic because it's very similar to say that very similar to saying that my understanding derives from internal capacities, from my internal capacities, coupled as they are to external consistencies, but my understanding of others is contingent on my internal capacities and mental diversities. For example, if I regard some people as bold or coward or smart or dumb or brave, or if I regard somebody as brutal, I can only experience these qualities in these people if I myself possess these qualities within me, at least potentially. Only when I'm faced with a behavior that is so extreme that I cannot comprehend it, or that I cannot comprehend the motivation behind it, that's when I might lack that quality inside me, or it's so deeply suppressed that I cannot understand the behavior of the other person. But I think you understand what I'm trying to say, that to perceive others' behavior perhaps I must possess the qualities in order to perceive correctly what is in the other person. And of course the presence of the other person is objective. It's not reducible to my subjective experience of them, but as they are outside of me independently, and they affect my perception as they behave, but the way I carry myself towards the others is subjective. I will always experience their behavior and their character within the confines of my projections, because I always start out from my own premises. If I live in a rocket, I will think in terms of the rockets. The way I experience others is contingent on the way I experience my world, myself, or something like that. As John Locke said, without personally possessing or without personal ideas, we could never experience others and others' ideas. We can only experience others and their ideas through ourselves and through our employment of our own ideas. And of course, when we present the ideas of others to ourselves through the means of our own ideas, there is a necessary distortion involved. But what I would like to highlight with this is that maybe this is why nurturing a rich and diverse mental landscape is so important, because nuances are contingent or constrained to our subjective world, to what we let enter into our world or our mold, and we shouldn't distort the nuances of others into the molds of our everyday bigotries.